Hey guys, it's Troy Dooley with my morning coffee reflections, and I know it's like noontime, it's 1 o'clock on the East Coast, that's alright. I had a great time this morning with Corey Johnson over at, I never pronounce these company names right, man. It's, Waora is how you pronounce it. And yeah, we're just hanging out and playing today. But listen, seriously, I want you to know this show right here is sponsored by Buzz Coffee. That's Tom and Denise Chenault up in Longmont, Colorado. If you're around the Denver area, man, stop in. Tell them you saw Buzz Coffee on Troy Dooley's Morning Coffee Reflections. And for some of you guys that may be wondering, man, what the heck's he doing with this Buzz Coffee? One of the things that we've done, people have asked us, Troy, how you making money? What are you doing? Well, one of the things we do is we take sponsorships on some of our shows. When a person says, look, we'd like to get the name of our company out there, whether it's a local name, whether it's a long distance name, and I'm going to tell you what, you know, this is Buzz Coffee right here, man. Take a peek at it. See it? Right there. Look at this. This is the Fair Trade Organic Buzz Blend. That's what I love about this guy. And Tom does the home-based business radio show Saturday mornings. You can pick it up on the home-based business radio shot.com. You can go to tomchenault.com. You can go check him out on Facebook. You know, but right now we're doing our new series called the Revolutionary Communicator. I love this book. And I had a guy call me yesterday and he said, Troy, we're sitting here listening and watching your shows, and why do you always use different books? Do you not have your own training stuff? We got a lot of training stuff. But one of the things that I've realized is that over the years, there's not been enough people spreading the love around when they read good books. And nowadays with the Kindle and Amazon and all that, man, I strongly suggest you guys get some of this stuff. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. What I like to do is I like to go and find out what others have done. You know, for years I've read Westerns. And when you read Westerns, you start to realize what the American landscape looked like in the old days. And how those guys were able to write, how they were able to communicate and connect. I've also listened to old radio shows with Ronald Reagan and Jack Benny and some of those, and how they connect with people. So when I picked up this book again to read, and I got to chapter 2, and this is the second principle in the 7 principles Jesus lived to impact, connect, and lead. And I'm focusing this on Jesus. It's the Easter time. I thought this was pretty cool. But this is called seeking connection. Now, I think this is good. Listen to this here. These guys write, in the media age, we assume that effective communication must come from a position of power. Now, I'm that way. I've got a pretty big footprint on the internet. But here's what they write. In every age, the truth is, the best communication requires drawing near to the people, whatever the cost. And you know, I've done that. We do a lot of stuff. We get a lot of controversy, but yeah, we've made some great friends. And that's what I like. But they share a story in here that I thought was good. See, if you learn to communicate correctly, you ask a lot of questions, you empathize with people. Matter of fact, I was just on the phone with Jack Kevorkian, one of the founders of the Numis Network. And I had some business questions that I'd written down that I wanted to ask him. I said, Jake, how you doing? He said, I'm doing good, I guess. And I could tell in his voice something was wrong. Because I've talked to Jake long enough to know this. I said, Jake, what's the problem, man? He said, honestly, Troy, my dad passed away yesterday. And I thought, man. I said, Jake, we're not going to talk business. I said, tell me about your family. Tell me a little bit about you. Jake shared a little bit. And I said, you know what? Why don't you get through today? Get through this weekend. Get through Easter. I'll be praying for you and your family. And I mean it, Jake. And let's talk next week. But right now, you just deal with family. Folks, you got to get to know your people. You got to get to seek connection with people. See, with Jake and I, it goes beyond business. We've literally created a friendship here that's starting to grow. And this will be something that I know from now on, Easter is going to be a little difficult for them. They're going to be celebrating not just the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. They're going to be celebrating his father and doing some stuff there. That's tough when that happens. So that's what I want you to think about. But there's a story too, and this is why this connects with Jake. There's a story they put in this book. They said Professor Leo recounts a true story of a little boy when his neighbor's wife passed away. He said, seeing the elderly man was heartbroken and grieving, the boy's mother warned her son, do not bother our neighbor. Wasn't too long, the mother noticed out her kitchen window little boy crossing into the neighbor's yard and climbing up into the old man's lap. He remained there a long time, just sitting quietly. Now this is great. When the little boy returned home, his mother met him with hands on her hip. Can you just picture Aunt B off Andy Griffith? "I told you not to bother him," she scolded. "What were you doing?" Little boy looked up with tears in his eyes. He said, "Mom, I wasn't doing anything. I was just helping him cry a little bit." So that little boy knew how to connect. See, I think when we're out here and we're trying to be communicators, some of us tell stories, some of us give facts, but when it gets right down to it, if you follow what Jesus did, if you know anything about the man, I'm not talking about the spiritual aspect, just the man Jesus Christ who walked this earth back 2,000 some odd years ago, you realize that he went to the people, he connected with the people. When he was talking to a fisherman, he connected with the fisherman. When he was talking to the leaders of the religious community, he would talk on their level. When a young lady came to him who was a harlot, a slut, a whore, he also talked to her on her level. When a woman who had been married numerous times and was living with a guy came to him, he didn't talk down to her. He didn't tell her what an awful person she was. He communicated on her level. Good communicators, if you want to be a revolutionary communicator, you have to learn to connect with the people. You've got to learn to get inside of where they're at. You've got to do your due diligence. You don't talk above them. You don't preach to them. What you do is you get right down on it. You get down and you keep it simple. Here's some things that you can do. One, use narrative. People love stories. Share stories that are going to connect with them. The second thing you want to do is you want to keep it simple. Use themes that they understand. Use stuff that they can communicate with. You want to communicate with familiarity, stuff that they will understand and know about. If you're talking in front of a crowd of people, use the company, use terminology that they use. See, a sad thing in the Christian community is they like to bring their terminologies out into the secular world. Nobody understands a cotton-picking thing they're saying. It is the craziest thing that I've seen. You know, it happens all the time. At the end, you've got to bring in a concreteness. You've got to close your story out. You've got to show people what it's about. Listen to this here. The guys write this so well. Said, communication that is simple, familiar, concrete, and makes ample use of stories, whether addressed to a large stadium or a junior high school kid, brings us near to our listeners. It connects us to them in their world. See, that's what this is all about, folks. It's connecting to people. It's drawing near to people. It's understanding. And I can't even reach everything that's in this book under each of these 7 parts, but they're so powerful that I wanted to be able to share some of that today as we go through it, because I think at the end that's what it takes. You've got to connect with your people. You've got to be able to connect with your family, your wife, your children. My kids will tell you I use stories all the time. People that I consult with, I use stories all the time. Stories help people to connect. That's what it's about. Folks, live life like it's an epic adventure. Thanks for hanging out with us for a few minutes on Troy's Morning Coffee Reflections. And remember, check out Buzz Coffee and TomChenault.com. See what those guys are up to. Live life like it's an epic adventure. We'll see you at the top.